Speaker Mike Johnson and the House Republicans got together and they're addressing these protests that have taken over many of our U.S. institutions. They're going to have a few of what their plan is to defund this stuff is by the end. But this is also a political strategy. This is to help Trump. It's time to call the Democrats for what they are and what their institution is doing. And they really are the evil at the top of this thing and keeping it funded on these campuses. I'm just going to let them kind of speak and I'll pop in every once in a while. But welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Is it too late to save the universities? Because I don't know how you get this rot out. And the Republicans, this is a half effort. It's not enough. But, you know, it's good to see them at least spend a few calories on the subject. Now, watch this. There's good, righteous indignation in their voice.
Over the last few weeks, we've seen absolute lawlessness and chaos on college and university campuses across America.
Where are the police? Where is security? Where are these people? Just where is authority here?
The anti-Jewish hatred was appalling. And we heard firsthand from students who are living in fear because of the pro-Hamas agitators who have taken over their campus. After I met with President Shafik, it was clear that she has lost control of her campus and she needs to step down. The first and most obvious responsibility of a university administrator is to ensure the safety and security of their students. If an administrator cannot ensure that, they have missed their first assignment.
Okay, so that's the first call out is he's going after the president of Columbia saying she needs to step down because she's failed. You'll see other calls for her to step down, but that's a good start. So, and they're going to have a committee hearing, by the way, where they're bringing all of these campus presidents in for a hearing. And that's when the real juicy stuff comes out, when they have to face this investigation.
And what we're seeing right now is people wave Hezbollah flags and Hamas flags. They're homemade signs supporting what happened on October 7th. It's outrageous. Hamas endorsed the protest at Columbia University.
It's being funded and endorsed by Hamas. That's only some of the money. There's some deep Soros communist money. We'll get to that at the end too. Very interesting. Because what do they have to do with environmentalism? Why would they be from the same funding sources as that? Other than they despise America, want to undermine our strength. And that's because they are against our liberty. But this is a great investigation by Mike Johnson. Just remember, when they say that they wave a Hamas flag, that is a genocidal flag that they're waving.
They're proudly chanting things like death to America and profanity and hate-filled slogans. And this is utterly despicable. And it cannot be accepted in this country.
I also want to thank the Speaker for making this a priority for all of House Republicans. It is clear that Jewish families across this country, Americans across this country, are looking for moral clarity, and we are going to deliver where these higher education institutions have failed. America watched in disgust as President Shafik allowed an anti-Semitic pro-terrorist mob to storm and seize an academic building, holding faculty inside, flying pro-Hamas signs, and damaging property.
That's the big one to me. Don't bring up freedom of speech. That's not freedom of speech. Breaking a window is not freedom of speech. Intimidating students, organizing a mob, taking over a university is not freedom of speech. So don't let the left fool you. And they're hiding behind that. We saw that on the View episode earlier. The View's like, oh, we believe in freedom of speech. Don't even bring it up. This is not freedom of speech.
Joe Biden, far-left Democrat governors like my home state in New York, and morally bankrupt university leaders have allowed this moral rot of anti-Semitism to fester, refusing to enforce the laws and refusing to ensure the safety of Jewish students. And it's not just Columbia. This is a moral rot that has taken root across American higher education institutions.
It's a social contagion. It spreads if you don't deal with it. And now all the students, they kind of catch it and just go, I am outraged about something. You've even seen video footage of some of them going, I'm not sure why I'm protesting on behalf of Palestine, but whatever it is, we're for them. This is what unites in the intersectionalism of it might be, you'll see queers for Palestine and things like that. Environmentalists will come out. Antifa will come out. These are disruptors come out. Because they all have the same thing in common. Now, she's already called out Biden. Where's Joe Biden on this?
DeSantis rejects your Title IX rules. Mr. President, Governor DeSantis rejects your Title IX rules.
I like how the the press guy was trying to bait Biden to come over and answer a question by saying, hey, DeSantis rejected your Title IX rule. That's the Title IX rule expansion, where they're trying to expand it to include trans people. That is, if you come out against it and say, I'm against this procedure, you can be nailed for hate speech, hate crime, get your business shut down. That's what Biden is doing. Remember when all your friends that were pro-rainbow used to say, how does our marriage affect your marriage? Well, now you're seeing it. Now, if you speak out against a trans person participating on a female sports league, it's a hate crime. I'm going to go ahead and run Biden stumbling back to his helicopter, ducking the press, because one thing they do not want is for Biden to ever talk to the press. They're like, no, we don't do that. Over Elise Stefanik.
Enough is enough. It is time to restore law and order, academic integrity, and moral decency to America's higher education institutions. Joe Biden has been deafeningly silent. So I want to thank again the Speaker, as well as all of our chairs who will ensure this is a top priority for House Republicans. There can be no moral equivalency. It is time to send a clear message to the world.
We're here to deliver a message to the university administrators who have chosen to be complicit in these movements for hate rather than taking action. And we're here to deliver a message to Hamas, Iran, and members of the Squad, including my Minnesota colleague Ilhan Omar, who have all endorsed these anti-Semitic protests that enough is enough. Accountability is here.
He just called out Ilhan Omar of the Squad.
What started out 5 days ago with only 70 students organizing themselves at Columbia University has now led to a nationwide university movement.
Squad, that includes Rashida Tlaib, the guy that pulled the fire alarm, and AOC. So the Squad are very pro-Hamas, very anti-Israel. And he's calling them out. So people look forward to a censure within the body against them by Republicans.
It's October 7th when a terrorist organization backed by Iran known as Hamas invaded Israel. We saw a war declared on them. And Israel said, we're going to defend our state. And you saw, by the way, these colleagues here and so many of my House colleagues stand and say, we support Israel's right to defend themselves as a Jewish state. But something else alarming that you started to see happen after that is when we started taking action here. And that is when you started seeing anti-Semitism grow here in the United States, here on college campuses, and in fact, here on the House floor by some of our colleagues on the other side.
Like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. By the way, I saw that anti-Semitism myself arise among my peers. I have Jewish friends that have always talked about this problem, and I just go, yeah, you're probably exaggerating, you're probably hypersensitive, whatever. Well, after October 7th, I saw it come out firsthand myself on my Twitter feed. Some of them are my friends, and I just go, what happened? What did Israel do to earn this? And all the weird conspiracies come up by nut jobs. I have no room for their conspiracies of the Jews control everything in Hollywood and the banks. It's the same stuff we've been hearing for 50 years against the Jews. It's ridiculous. And that needs to get laughed out of the Republican Party. It's certainly out of the right. Leave it in the left, because we have an election and we want to win this election and we want to support Israel, our ally.
As Republican leaders, we have a clear message for mealy-mouthed, spineless college leaders. Congress will not tolerate your dereliction of duty to your Jewish students. American universities are officially put on notice that we have come to take our universities back.
What's more, universities that can't protect their students are not in compliance with their funding obligations through the National Science Foundation.
And now these are the parade of government funding for these universities that the House is threatening to pull. They control the purse strings. We're talking about hundreds of $millions, certainly given to universities for science. Let's say we use it to develop vaccines, cure for cancer. Our military uses it. And it's really where the biggest breakthroughs have come through our universities, through this funding of the sciences, because it's not always profitable to do good science. So now the government can come back and say, you're not compliant in that you are a organization of hate and protecting hate. So these are all the different ways they're going to pull the plug. Watch this.
Imagine being a Jewish American, knowing that part of your hard-earned paycheck is going to fund professors' research while they threaten students and actively indoctrinate and radicalize the next generation.
First, how many students on a visa have engaged in the radical activity we've seen now day after day on college campuses? How many have engaged in this activity endorsing or espousing terrorist activity on a college campus? Question two, if you know that number, have you, the State Department, have you asked the State Department to revoke the visas, to revoke their visas? And then third, and maybe most importantly to Secretary Mayorkas, if you've done that, if you know that answer, have you started removal proceedings?
I'm with Jim Jordan on that. Pull their visa. If they're a guest student, come over here and doing all this, shutting down a university, you get deported. Pull it. Of course, Mayorkas has no interest in this, but hopefully the Republicans can put a fire under him and pressure him through preferably Jewish voters that need to be abandoning Biden, because you know what? If you're Jewish and you're voting for Biden, I don't get it. I don't get it. As Sam Kinison used to say, rock against drugs, that's like Christians against Christ. That's the same thing with the Jews voting for this party of Ilhan Omar.
They have a responsibility to the American taxpayer to ensure that they are fulfilling their educational requirements as tax-exempt organizations, as well as protecting students from intimidation, harassment, and violence.
The failure of Columbia University to address the pro-Hamas mob is an appalling lack of leadership. Now we are witnessing copycat anti-Israel protests pop up at universities across the country. These radical protests threatening violence against Jews are anything but organic. It appears global elites are funding these hateful protests in pop-up tent cities. These are the same groups that fund other radical agendas, including diminishing America's energy production and pushing soft on crime policies.
That's Alvin Bragg, soft on crime. That's Letitia James. That's Fani Willis, soft on crime policies. They're getting the same funding. Energy sector, the environmentalist movement, the anti-oil movement, same money. These are radical, Marxist, socialists taking over your country's institutions. They're very well funded. By the way, they started looking at the pup tents that were being put up in these colleges, and they were all the same brand of pup tent, like they were purchased in bulk. So it's not an organic, shanty community that might pop up in some homeless encampment. These were all like uniform, the same tent. So they were purchased en masse and given to the students by these kind of globalist anti-American guys. This is treason. If the Democrats are in on this, they got to get called out. I want names. I want Ilhan Omar.
So you've just heard from the chairs of a number of the most powerful committees on Capitol Hill. You've had oversight. You heard from the chair of Judiciary, Science, Space, and Technology, the House Education Workforce Committee, Ways and Means. There's more. And you'll hear the leadership team deeply involved in all this as well. We got to get down to the bottom of it. We have to root it out. Congress has two really important responsibilities that will be fulfilled in this exercise. One is oversight, and that's a job that we have, and also, of course, the use of the power of the purse. We need accountability for those who cannot maintain order, will not protect innocent students on their campus.
This is where I love Mike Johnson, but dude, he might be too nice. He's wearing a tie. The hair's all combed over, like Davy and Goliath, the little animated show. I just want to know, what are you going to do? Can you make a fist? Do you still have a fire in your gut? Because I don't want to see a weak man with a powdered wig and a beauty mark go into a fist fight against the Democrats on this one. I want to see this group, these politicians, if you mean anything, do it. Make this president step down. Defund these universities, punish them financially. Deport the radical students. You depart a handful of them, depart 100 of them. They'll all get the message. It'll stop in one day. If you really care about stopping this kind of harassment in your, we're going to find out if they care. I just want to encourage them, pray for them. What do you guys think? Can this be reversed? I'm Doug in Exile.